6:31, and then we'll wait for you to catch up.
Okay.
We're called to order 6:31.
Oh, God, come on. Let me make a document. I have a new, I'm sorry about this. I have a new tablet and I am not necessarily sure how to do it. Oh, no, I took notes on it last time, and this time, for some reason, I'm not getting it.
Hi
Julie
guys, I'm home with
Brody,
a sick baby, so
you
I'm
brought a
gonna try to
visitor.
participate as much as I can, but
Yeah.
Oh, we do have the public present. This is the first time we've had public in a long time.
yeah, this is Cameron.
How is he? Is he sick?
Hi, Cameron.
So,
Adorable.
Is he
Feel
okay?
better. He doesn't have RSV or COVID, but he's got a heck of a cough and he's teething. So it's a really fun combination.
Well,
But
he looks quiet right at the
Yeah,
moment.
very quiet and calm right now.
yes, he's fascinated by the big screen.
Must be all these faces that he gets to look at.
Exactly. But I'll be listening and chiming in when I
Okay.
can.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we
Thanks,
just
guys.
called to order. We're just waiting for Sherry to get ready for note taking.
I don't know why it's not working. It worked the last time I did this. It says hit the add button to start a new document. There's no add button. There's a little
Is it
PDF
an
thing.
iPad? Is there a little plus sign?
No, it's a brand new Samsung, and there's a little PDF with a plus sign, and yet it's not. Select items, internal. I'll just do internal storage. Okay, here we go. Maybe it'll let me do it now. Nope. Oh, gee.
Okay, well, maybe how
You know
about
what? I'm gonna have to split my screen then, and
all right, can you have
to do it this way. If I'm gonna have to do it that way, which is very frustrating because I definitely don't want to do that. Because then I can't look at you when I'm working on
Okay,
this.
we need to get started. So is that
Okay.
and yeah, for our first order of business anyway is Erin. Hi, Erin. So that won't involve too much note taking right at the moment. I mean, we'll listen and hear what. Thank you for being here, Erin.
Thank you for having me.
Is somebody going to be with you or no?
No, Jim Hogan will not be here tonight. It's just going to be me carrying the show.
Okay. So maybe everybody can see you. Everybody knows by whatever means kind of who you are. But why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you do for the town, and then
Sure.
you're going to talk about the zoning, the MBTA
Yeah.
specifically. But I think we have questions about other stuff too.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me tonight. My name is Erin Kokinda. I think I've met a number of you at various events or other meetings that maybe you've sat on. I'm the Community and Economic Development Director for the town of Wakefield. I do a lot of work when it comes to business recruitment, retention, working with different community groups, but also have gotten really involved over the last few years on planning efforts in town. And so that's what initially brought me to this meeting tonight. And I thank you for finding time on your agenda to have me. Just trying to do my best to get out there with Jim Hogan and spread the word to different groups and committees in towns about what's going on. We currently are doing some public meetings through the planning board. We had our first one last month. We'll be having another one next Tuesday discussing the MBTA communities. But I just want to make sure that I know everyone can't attend every night meeting. So I want to be able to come to these groups as well. So with that being said, I'm going to start my presentation. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, if the host wants to let me share, but I'll just kind of kick it off.
No, I did. I got it.
Okay. So what brings me here tonight is I'm here for the MBTA communities. Just by a show of hands, doesn't have to be a raised hand, virtual hand is fine. Who's familiar with the MBTA communities 40A law that was put into place about 2.5 years ago at this point?
How about somewhat familiar? What do you do with that?
Somewhat. Okay. So I'm here. I've been working really closely with the planning board to do some planning practices based on something that the state has mandated. Communities that are along an MBTA line, whether that be a commuter rail, rapid transit, bus was on it, but it's still on it kind of, to create new housing within Massachusetts. So just to give you a background, in 2020, the Massachusetts Zoning Act, also known as 40A, was amended to promote the production of multifamily housing within walking distance of public transportation to address a regional housing crisis. I think we can all allude to. I have many friends that have been trying to get into Wakefield and surrounding communities, how tough the housing market is and how expensive it is. We currently have, according to the state, estimated shortage of 200,000 housing units. So this was a tool and mechanism that the state is putting into place to address this housing crisis that we're facing. Along the MBTA lines, with the idea of transportation and housing going hand in hand. So this Zoning Act requires MBTA communities like ourselves, we're a commuter rail community, to pass a multifamily zoning district. It should have at least one multifamily zoning district of reasonable size in which multi-housing is permitted as of right. Regulations are still enforced as part of this new zoning district, whether that be setbacks, height dimensions, parking, those things can still be enforced. As I mentioned, we are a commuter rail station, so we fall within this area here, within one of these MBTA communities. And we are one of the fastest growing home prices and rents and any of the state in the nation. The state really honed in on that when they started to roll this out and said that something needs to be done here. And so they felt it was their place to step in and kind of make this mandate. It'll be near walkable neighborhoods, which we have a very walkable community and are continuing to work on that through our bike and pedestrian plan, and better access to our works and services throughout town. And so I'm here to kind of show you guys what over the last year or so, we've been working on it for over a year, but we've created a group, MBTA working group, that's made up of someone from the Zoning Board of Appeals, from the Planning Board, 2 Planning Board members, myself, as well as the Environmental Sustainability Committee, Town Council, and we have a resident that is on this board as well. So we've been working really closely over the last 7 or 8 months to create these districts that we'll be proposing at town meeting come May. And so I'm just going to run through, that was just kind of some background information of how this came to be. So this is a PowerPoint that we are putting out to the public right now, and what we're proposing and what we've kind of worked really hard on. So this district that we're proposing in Wakefield will comply with all the state zoning requirements. It will center around our Wakefield commuter rail station. We do have our Greenwood rail station too. We did look at that area after plugging away some numbers, and I'll speak to that a little more in a little bit of how we came to this district and how it's a big math equation. It didn't make sense for us to do Greenwood. So we're proposing as of right developments up to 3 stories and a maximum of 4 units per lot. And it is going to, oh, yep, go ahead, Susan.
I just, at that term as of right, could you just explain that?
Yep, I have a slide coming right up after,
okay,
after
okay.
this. Yeah, hopefully I'll cover everything and then definitely answer any other questions. Hopefully we won't miss anything. We're avoiding commercial areas because when they rolled out this this new mandate, they basically said that it's just multifamily. It has to be around, like I said, the commuter rail, but a lot of the towns that you're working with, their commuter rail is set in a downtown setting where you'll find a lot of commercial, and mixed use was not part of this component. And so we're excluding parcels along North Ave, Main Street, and Albion to protect our commercial footprint. So here's the question with the next slide. You were one step ahead of me, Susan.
Gotta be more patient.
Yeah. So as of right is a development that can proceed without a special permit, variance, zoning amendment, waiver, or any other discretionary zoning approval. So, if what you're looking to develop falls within what we currently have within the zoning, you're allowed to do it as of right. The special permit is a discretionary permit to allow development to proceed. So those are the sort of developments that you've been seeing around Foundry Street in our downtown. Those are all part of special permits. So they have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. They can't just go into the building department and say, I'm going to do this today. It fits within the zoning. They need to have a special permit to do that. If you wanted to do a two family in a single family residence zoning area, you would have to get a special permit to do that. And so the definition, so this chart here kind of explains it a little more. Sometimes you'll get a special permit. Sometimes you might need to do a zoning change, which goes all the way to town meeting. So with this new law, it's as of right. So you can do it up to four families as of right within the districts we're proposing. So I just want to touch on this and why Wakefield is planning to move forward with abiding with the state's law. If we don't comply, we're not eligible for many grant programs. One being the Housing Choice Initiative, which we just became a housing choice community, which is really exciting. It means that Wakefield is supportive of housing development in town. As we can all see, we've done a lot of projects over the last few years to support housing. A local capital projects fund, that is projects that you see that fund street programs and things like that, mass works, infrastructure, water main, and things like that. And so over the last 3 years, we've received $3.6 million in state grants to make some of these improvements. And we just actually received 2 more grants totaling around $600,000 to do a new housing production plan, as well as do some infrastructure improvements around the Hopkins Street area with sidewalks. So if we don't comply with this law, we will no longer be able to apply for those grants. And the Attorney General has also threatened legal actions against non-compliant communities. So I guess that's really important to know as well. So the district we're proposing, we have to be able to create a capacity, and I really want to hone in on that word capacity. Just because we're proposing this zoning change does not mean that all of these you're going to see 1,700 housing units tomorrow. It's just saying that we have the capacity within this area to create up to 1,700. That's if everyone falls in within the dimensional requirements. So the state saying based off of 25% of what our current housing total, and I know this is a lot to take in, so happy to answer many questions and send information after this. The state basically told us we need to find a way to create 1,696 units within this district, and allow for the capacity for that to be created. They did this based on 25% of our total housing units that we currently have today based on census figures. The minimum district size has to be 114 acres. And this is also very important, support a minimum gross density of 15 units per acre. And the district cannot be more than a half mile from a commuter rail station. It cannot have any age restriction. The district must be suitable for families with children. So it must not have bedroom or age restrictions. And again, multifamily means three or more dwelling units. So currently today, our zoning in town, we do not have any zoning district that allows multifamily homes by right. 2/3 of our land is zoned for single family dwelling units only. And 2-family home residents are only allowed in general residence districts, mixed use, neighborhood business, and business. And a lot of those districts that allow 2 families are located within Wakefield Center and Greenwood areas of the town and represent only 20% of the total town land. So that just goes to show that at the current time, we don't really have a large footprint of allowing by right. So for multifamily. So this is the district that we're proposing. As you'll see, it's kind of covers, it goes back to around the Wakefield Station area. You'll see that we excluded properties along Main Street, Albion, North Ave, to protect our commercial district. And so in these districts, you would be allowed to, going back, to be able to have the capacity to do up to 4 units, 4 units per parcel, basically. And so these are the areas that we're currently proposing to the public. You'll see that circle around is a half-mile radius from the train. And just something to note, back in 2015 is when we passed the mixed use multifamily overlay district, and that's a half mile from our train station to allow the multifamily mixed use developments by special permit. So that's the mechanism people have been using to do some of the developments you see around the train.
May I ask one quick question, please?
Oh, yeah.
So it's Jim Moran.
Hi,
So
Jim.
hi, the blue areas that you have identified here.
Yep.
Is it accurate to say that the idea is to add 1,696 units
So
in
if we
all
do
that
this,
spread
yeah,
out
so
in that?
I'll go through all that too. And but
Oh.
if I put in, so there's this thing called a compliance model, and the state provided us this as well. It's kind of this math equation tool that I've been using where they pull all the current parcel information, and then I plug in what our dimensions or how many units we want to put in. So I did the 4 units to make sure that we're hitting our 1696. With these 5, I call them 5, but they're actually 4 districts. It would allow for 2,350, the capacity for 2,355 units to be created. So that would basically be if
I
you took
cringe
out,
at that, but
what'd you say?
I cringe at that in
No,
terms
but
of
I guess
congestion and.
let me
Go
put
ahead.
this out here just so you can better visualize it as well. That would be if you took all these houses that are currently within these blue districts, all these parcels, cleared them all out
I
and
see.
started from ground zero and went up. That's the capacity with 4 units per parcel. That's as much, that's what you could create.
Okay.
And so, with following within the dimensional regulations and things like that, I don't think it's all about capacity building. It's not saying
Mm.
that you can definitely do this. It's just saying if I plug in these numbers, this is the number of units that could be created. So
Okay.
is that a little more clear to you?
Right. It was hard to see how 1,600 units fit into that space already,
Yeah, yeah.
just in
So
terms of daily use.
I have some more information on that a few slides down. And just to show you here, this is the blue line here is our proposed boundaries of the multifamily district that we're proposing. Underneath it, you see the underlying zoning that we have today. And so we have the general residence, which I alluded to before, allows the 2 families by right. The red is the business district and the purple is the industrial. And so here's the numbers that I was talking about. So the important thing to note too is how the state says you have to have 15 units per acre. And so the proposed multifamily district that I just noted was that I just showed, and what I just said about the 2,355 units, that would be what the allowable capacity unit would be if we did those 4 districts, which would bring us to 16.3 units per acre. With the criteria being a number, 4 units per parcel, 3 stories, the building height 35 feet. So that's no different than what you see already in general residence, and 1.5 parking per unit. And so you'll see here, this is kind of what we already have for our existing mixed use garden apartments. And as you'll see, it's the height won't go up. The stories are the same, and the parking pretty much stays on par. And that's what we're proposing. So it's not changing the character of the neighborhood completely. So here's just some examples of existing Wakefield multifamily. Again, this doesn't take into place some of the dimensional requirements that we're proposing with setbacks and parking and things like that. But on Pleasant Street here, you'll see a lot that's 5,663 square feet with 4 units. Richardson Ave, 4 units on pretty close to that 4,000, and that's the minimum. Someone could have a 10,000 square foot lot and do 4, so they would have a larger lot. And so this is kind of like that minimum there, 4,356. Here's a 3 unit development. And then here's a 4 unit on a 6,000 square foot lot. And then this is something we just threw in as kind of a recent development that where you might see more of these sorts of developments popping up if someone decided to go about using this zoning mechanism to do a 3 or 4 family. This is on Chestnut Street. The lot size was 6,000 about 7,000 square feet, and it has 3 units. So this was just completed back in 2022. Go ahead, Sherry. I saw your hand.
Yes, I live in that neighborhood near that house on Chestnut Street, and I have to tell you, this is a very dense neighborhood. There are no empty lots. Are you proposing that buildings will actually be torn down? I mean, the building on Chestnut Street was already a multifamily. They remodeled it and as a condo building and sold the condos.
Yep.
This
So I'm really,
this was not, this was not a new build.
yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
it was already existing multifamily, but I don't, like I said, I live in a neighborhood, I live off Emerson, where it's all small, I mean, small lots
Yes.
of 1 and 2 family houses at most. And I don't, like I said, there's no empty land. I don't know where they're going to build this development.
So again, this is a capacity, what we're trying to do, it's a zoning change. We're not saying it's going to happen. Like you said, I'm familiar with that neighborhood as well. I live right behind you on Fairmount, so very familiar with this area as well. And I think something to note is, I understand where you're coming from. And just because we're saying up to 4 families, someone may come in and do like a 3 family like that Chestnut. They may redevelop a current building to allow for that, or they still may be able to take it down and still kind of fit in within those dimensional regs that we're putting forward, and be able to do 3 units. And so, I don't foresee, and I can't see the future, but I don't foresee that the whole neighborhood just changing into that. But I understand where you're coming from with that. And more than happy to, we did have the average parcel sizes too within these districts. I don't think I have that on that PowerPoint and right in front of me, but if that would be useful information for you guys, I'm more than happy to share that with you too. But thank you. Yep, Susan.
Aaron, yeah, I'm conscious of your time and our time, so I just wanna, I don't know how much, many more.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm almost done. So
Well,
basically
I
here,
have, I want to, yeah, we need some question time, particularly around our interest, which is seniors too, so go ahead.
yes. So right here, you'll just see where you'll find the developments. The proposed district is about 145 acres, and that's about 3.08 of Wakefield's land. Like I said, the unit capacity the state is looking for is 1696. We're proposing 2,355. The current housing units that you'll find within this district, there's currently about 1641 within this area already. So basically I explained why we're doing this. Near transit, driving economic development to our commercial districts, increase housing options to expand supply. Here's a quick calendar of district implementation. Right now, we're coming in front of different boards, having our public forums. Please help us spread the word. We are anticipating to go to town meeting in the spring in April and May. We're working on the bylaw right now that will go with it, as well as finalizing the dimensional regulations. So, and then, yeah, here we go. And just a summary, we're intending to comply with it. Some sort of multifamily district will have to be presented at town meeting. It's in compliance. It gives us opportunity to address some local and regional housing needs, allows us to stay eligible for grants, and continue to support economic development, which is the other hat I wear as well. So if you want more information, we have a whole web page about it where you can watch previous meetings, how we came to this. And I think that's it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to rush you. I didn't
Oh,
want.
no, I was actually coming up at the end too. And I know people had questions and they were gonna, and so hopefully, if you have more questions that I don't get to tonight, you can attend one of the public meetings as well. But
Yeah, so if with that link, is there dates and times of the public
yep.
meeting?
So
Okay,
the next one
okay.
is next. Yeah. So if you go there, they'll have all the links
Okay.
for the meetings and
And
the
we're gonna get a
presentation.
copy of this slide deck.
Yep, that should be on there as well, but I'll double check, but it should be on there.
All right, great, thank you.
Sorry, I don't know where time went.
No, it's
Apologize.
it's a big subject, and it's a big undertaking, so.
And with people not, no one raising their hand, I just want to make sure you guys understood the backstory of where this kind of came from as well. So happy to answer any questions, go
Okay.
back to any
Who's got
slides.
questions? I do, but I don't want to go first, so.
Hi, it's Christina. So growing is always a great thing. It can sort of change a lot of different things, but obviously trying to serve the community. Is there an anticipation that this would be at today's pricing for this housing? Is this low income housing? Is this uh senior housing? I mean, how is there, or is that part of the zoning part? Like, how is that part thought through in terms of the
Yeah.
actual piece?
So great question, and I didn't really touch upon that. So when they rolled this out back in 2020, there was no affordability component, age restrictions, anything like that. And you know, after pushback from folks, planners, and things throughout the state, they did actually say that you could do affordability up to 10%. Um, what we're proposing, we feel if we're only doing up to 4 units, the state will come back to us and say, that's not going to work. Someone's not going to do an affordable, it will make the developer, it won't make it feasible. So unfortunately, our hands are tied there, but that we are ahead of the curve in having our 18% inclusionary zoning within this district already. So if anyone wanted to do anything over 4, they have to abide by our 18%. And so we'd actually be getting higher than that, already with an affordable unit. When it comes to the age restrictions, it has to just be suitable for any age, and so we can't put any restrictions when it comes to age with that, which, you know, I totally understand, because there is a lot of discussion about senior housing and affordability and anyone being able to afford and live in town. And so, and sometimes, you know, I do a lot of the housing work within the community. I get very frustrated with what we're actually calling affordable. And, you know, we roll out these lotteries and you look at the chart of what people need to make or the minimum, and it's still a lot of money and what they're getting for rent. So, I totally understand, but abiding by what the current law is, we can't do any sort of restrictions or anything like that when it comes to age.
What about accessibility, like elevators or ramps, or other other factors for
So
that?
I think, you know, that's something that the Disability Commission, Bill Renault went to the meeting. He sits on those meetings and did the quick PowerPoint of this as well. You know, we again can't put any restrictions or anything like that, but I think any new development needs to abide by any of the building code and laws when it comes to any sort of ADA compliancy and things like that. So definitely at the forefront. And I think something too, when we look at sidewalks and things like that with ramps, any of these new developments, making sure that hopefully that they can, you know, do what's best for those types of uses. So.
So, Aaron, if this passes, you know, or whatever the next step, let's say you know, it's time to pull the trigger and it's gonna happen. So is that, what happens then? Developers step in? How does it?
So
come-
again, it's kind of like an overlay. It is an overlay. It isn't kind of. So I would kind of put it into comparison to our 19032, our mixed use multifamily. So it's a zoning mechanism. So someone could come in and say they see a house on Avon Street that fits all the certain requirements that say they have a minimum 4,000 square foot lot. They can make certain things work, can do a 3-family. They would then just, and that's what we're trying to figure out too, if they would need site plan approval by the planning board, which is different than special permit. We would just have to make sure that what they're proposing fits within the neighborhood, but they could still do it. But they could just go to the building department like anyone else looking to do, you know, a single family in a single zone residence and do it because it fits within the zoning.
Are there any towns that are maybe ahead of Wakefield on this that already had this implemented by the state and voted yes and then went forth with it, that are similar in density to Wakefield?
So not that I know of. I am very close with the folks over in Stoneham, Reading, Melrose. Stoneham did pass a district that fits within this MBTA communities back last Springtown meeting. So they're just putting in the documentation now with the state saying they fit within the requirements, but they're looking to do more larger density along Route 28. I just had coffee with the gentleman who does my job over in Reading, and they're doing a similar effort as us, doing sort of that and people don't like the word, so I don't want to say it, but like gentle density up to 6 units around their train station. And so they're doing, you know, not the larger developments that you've been seeing in Reading and Wakefield, but kind of that smaller middle housing. And that's what I think the state is really looking to tackle. We don't have to be in compliance, bless you, I didn't hear it, but bless you, until the end of December of 2023. The communities now that have to be in compliance are rapid transit communities. They have till the end of this year, 2023. So they kind of have a different makeup than what we have here in town. So I have not seen a community yet where they're doing something very similar like Reading and us that have kind of moved to the next steps.
Is there any consideration of lowering those numbers before it goes to town meeting to
Oh, hi,
a
Maureen.
minimum of what, to what the state said? You know,
So
so are you guys gonna consider that before town meeting? Because I feel like people are gonna push back pretty hard on that.
So we have heard from folks just from the one public meeting, the proposal of doing, we do have 3 districts mapped out as well, the minimum compliance map, which would bring us to around, oh God, 17 something units. So above our 1696, and it's these 3 districts here. So it's kind of the in between one side of the train and then the other side on the west side. And that's kind of the minimum compliance that we have. I'm always playing around with different scenarios, but this is what we've presented to the public so far. So this would bring us to around that like 1700 number compared to that 2355 that I put forward with the 5 districts.
I just feel like the state's just gonna keep pushing and that we need to like push back a little bit because this isn't gonna be affordable, like you say, or
Yeah, no,
geared
I
towards
think that's
seniors, you know, so it's very expensive. And I mean, my opinion is developers are gonna push the envelope and build 3 and 4 because they're in it to make money. So,
Yep. And
I
that's
mean,
always been a concern of mine too. I mean, they didn't even have the affordability piece. And to be
yeah.
completely transparent, they're not even making the affordability piece easy. If anything over 10% that you want to have, you need to do like an economic feasibility study that they need to see with an outside consultant. I think I can speak for many people that are working on this. It is not the best written law at all. A lot of things were not thought through. And there has been pushback from other communities. We're just trying to do the best of what we can do with what we have here. And I think it's been made pretty loud and clear that from many meetings I've sat on is people do not want to see some of these larger developments anymore in town. And that's where we have the affordability component. But I do agree, the affordability piece really does tear at me because I think we all know that Chestnut example, what those were selling for, and they were probably on the market for a day or two. And so yes, I mean, the one thing it will do is increase our housing stock, which hopefully
Which
allows.
will make that SHI number further away.
Yeah, that's the other challenge too. And that's the challenge. But again, I think something I just want to keep honing in on is it's not, they're not forcing us to say that we're tied to this number. These number of housings are going to be built. It's just allowing the capacity to have these built. But I totally understand where you're coming from. I totally get it.
Yeah, it's a lot. Good
Yeah,
luck.
we might want you back for a part 2, Aaron, because I think we're gonna have to move on to our other
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah, no, thank you so
Obviously,
much.
there's a lot to talk about, and I think what hasn't been covered, and some people know, and not a lot of people in Massachusetts may know this, but the history of why zoning has been left, how and when zoning was turned over to the towns and cities,
Yep.
which, and all that sort of plays into this, and people moved to Wakefield or Stoneham or wherever they moved for lots of reasons. And now and I'm not on either side of this right now. We need housing. We need it. We need affordable housing. And we're 10 miles from Boston. So what right do we have in Wakefield to think that we shouldn't have multiple family housing because of where we're located? But there's a lot here. So, Joanne, one last comment or question before we let Aaron go?
Oh, yeah, well,
Hi,
I'm a
Joanne.
former member of the planning board, so I have some familiarity with this whole multifamily district. But I think we all can agree that the number of elderly people in the town is increasing. We want people to stay in town. We want to provide affordable housing to people over 65, and I think Erin gets this.
Yeah.
But I don't think the word affordable is really that clear. You know what I mean? You alluded to it, Erin, and affordable is just not affordable enough. And it's not affordable enough to our seniors. So I concur with Maureen Hickey on this, that we need more senior housing and not more affordable housing. And I agree, this is not really great for the developers, but in terms of economic development, it might help our town. So just putting that out there, that it's not quite as simple as we need more housing. We need more housing for people who are older because it's a huge part of our population.
I agree. Yeah, it's a very generic thing than housing, but there's many elements to it.
Yeah, it's a complicated picture.
So,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much. And thank
Well,
you for letting
thank
me take
you
so much
very
of your time, and
Yeah.
feel free to join us next Tuesday if you can. And
What
feel free
time
to
is
reach
that?
out to me.
Tuesday, what time and where?
7 p.m. via Zoom. You can find the link on the planning board.
okay. All
I
right.
can follow up too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a
Mhm.
good one.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that's such a lot that could go on there. Karen, thank you for inviting her to come. That was very informative.
That could certainly prompt a lot of discussion, so a very, very good invite.
Yeah, it was great. It was absolutely great.
You know, that was a really important topic on the election yesterday, statewide. I don't know if you looked at any of the results, but in
The
a lot
local,
of,
yeah.
yeah, a lot of towns, it's a hot topic, the whole housing topic.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, moving on, because we could go on forever about housing. There's no public comment because nobody's here from the public except for Cameron, maybe still here. But the minutes from the October meeting, October 11th, which everyone should have. And Sherry, I really like these minutes. I love the way you left in the action items, so thank you for that. I have a couple, I forget how to do this. I have a couple of amendments to propose or changes just to fix. One is on at the bottom.
Let's make a motion first, Susan.
Thank you, Maureen. I knew you'd step in.
All right.
Are you
I'll make a
making that-
motion to accept the minutes of October 11th, 2023.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Now you can make your amendments, Susan.
Thank you. I read the whole, handbook. I read the whole handbook this week. All right, thank you. Yes, I have some discussion, yes. At the bottom of page 2 under town meeting, I believe the town meeting is November 18th, not November
Yeah.
8th. So that just changes that, correct that, and then the other one was, we had 2 circles on here. Oh, up on, well, might have been just that one, I'm sorry, my apologies, just that one.
Number 2, right below it, Susan, there's just a 2 Ds on the end of the word board,
Oh,
so,
Board of Assessors.
yeah, maybe that's what you saw.
Yeah, I didn't circle it, but
But
yeah,
that's just a typo, strike that.
okay, any other discussion or comments?
I have a general comment that I will just throw out. It may not get discussed right now, but I wonder if we need to have the minutes be as detailed as they are. I kind of looked up in the bylaws again about minutes and what they should contain, and it was, time, place, and meeting, and who's there, and any decisions that are made. So a lot of the report, is detailed, what we heard, what people reported to us, what what Karen reported to us. And I don't know if there's another way that those things become available, or if it's to anyone's advantage not to have them detailed here, simply have, you know, had a discussion or had a presentation from Aaron about this and that, as opposed to, you could try to capture everything that you said. And I just wonder if that's necessary, if that's what we're looking at in terms of what our minutes are supposed to reflect. And again, no, and doesn't necessarily have to future discussion, perhaps.
Yeah, I think minutes are required to be, to record the votes. But you're right,
Yeah.
the level of detail is different at probably every board but I don't think it's required to have a lot of detail, but you should have some, some information in there.
I think as I read the board handbook, not the bylaws, not the bylaws, but the board handbook, it seems that certainly if there's any deliberations involved, it would be important to have sort of a summary of those. Yeah, I wonder about, the other part of it, but it's just, Sherry's a pro at this. I think she's done this for a number of commissions and committees, and Maureen is too, because she runs meetings, and Karen, you ran meetings at the vet, so I don't know. Let's take a vote, and then we can see if we need to resurface this issue next month in some way. So, do you have to revise your motion, Maureen, that you?
No,
Okay. So all in favor of accepting the minutes as with those revisions?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Okay, none opposed.
Jerry, you see everybody? Yeah.
Yeah. Julie, I know Julie voted yes, so she didn't. Okay, the financial report, I think did you just send it to us?
I did. I'm sorry that it was delayed. With the meeting being this early, I don't get them until just before the meeting. And I was actually on a vacation day today, so I apologize to everyone.
No, that's okay. Is there anything, you know what, I'm gonna, as chair, say that we're gonna table next month, we'll look at both October and November.
The one I emailed out is up to date, so I can
Yeah.
talk through it, and then we could vote on it next month with the minutes if you want. But we're on track with the budget. There's not any concerns at all with the budget.
Okay.
And the programs and classes for October, we had 1354 total participants in programs and classes. And again, that could be, one person could be counted 5 times if they do multiple things. So that's not 1354 people, it's 1354 participants for the total programs. Outreach is starting to ramp up again because of fuel assistance. I'm working with the health department to see how we can potentially lighten some of Jason Stone's load, because he is seeing a lot of seniors at the food pantry. So we're trying to come up with the system of how we could help bring some of those people that need help with fuel assistance here to the senior center, also for Beth to help them. And then we have Lena, of course, coming every other week, which is a huge, huge help. But it opened my eyes. There's not really space over there for me to try and go over there and sit with him, but I want to make sure I stay in touch with him. And he's great about reaching out to us, but he is seeing a lot of seniors at the food pantry on a regular basis. The gym is staying strong and the rides are going as strong as ever. We have 143 this month, which is down from the past month, but not because of a want of need. Sometimes it's because the medicals are out, so you can take less people. The transportation grant is coming out soon, so I'm looking for that to hopefully try and get some funding towards a second bus if we were ever to be awarded the grant. Otherwise, if we don't get that, to put it in the capital improvement plan for next year to try and get funding for a bus so that we can increase our capacity. But otherwise, yeah, things have been very busy at the senior center. We've gotten a lot of, I'm sorry, I'm mixing my things again. Financial is financial, but if you want to do that next month, I can more.
We're gonna table the vote till next month though, but thanks, yeah.
Okay, and then we've gotten a lot of rave reviews about the senior resource fair, so people were happy and they got a lot of information about it, and it opened the door for some people who are now volunteering at the food pantry. So I think overall a success. We felt really happy about that, and we're looking forward to hosting one again next year. But otherwise, that's about it. We're ramping up for the holiday party, which is going to be on December 18th, which is a Monday. We're having the same DJ as last year, and we are having it catered again. So we're looking forward to that. And then just a lot of programming coming up. We have next week is going to be our first, we had 2 months ago, we had our first ever LGBTQ programming ideas meeting. And we had a few people come, and we decided our first LGBTQ programming specific kind of thing would be, or not specific, but friendly type of program is going to be the showing of Red, White, and Royal Blue on Monday. So we're looking forward to that. And all programs are LGBTQ friendly, but we wanted to make a focus on bringing it out. So that's our first attempt. So that's on Monday. So I will report next month how that goes, but we were very happy to have at least a few people even come and come up with some ideas with us.
Great. Has the caregivers group met yet, or is that coming up also?
They met for the first time on yesterday, and we had 5 people. So that was nice to see. I'm working on tonight. Actually, I'm going to hopefully have it submitted tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, a grant that I'm hoping we can, with grant funds, hire somebody, a caregiver, to come in so that we can expand our offering so that the person coming to the caregiver support group can bring their loved one with them, and they would be cared for here in the senior center in a different area. So part of the grant is to get dividers that we could use down in the dining room so we can make 2 separate spaces, and we could have a safe place with a hired caregiver to care for the loved ones and still have other programming on the other side.
And Karen, is that being facilitated by somebody? The
Mystic
caregiver?
Valley.
Mystic Valley has a social worker or somebody?
Yeah, social worker for Mystic Valley. And I've actually been networking with them to see, we're going to bring back congregate meals on Mondays. We're going to start in mid-January so that we'll have 1 meal a week. And then if we see a good interest, we'd like to bump it up to 2 days a week. So that's a second grant I'm working on right now. I'm going to submit that hopefully we can get some funding to replace our dishwasher in the kitchen that currently doesn't work, so that we can bring back more meal programs, cooking classes, community dinners. We want to bring in more congregate eating. So that's the second grant that I'm hoping to submit tonight. And I also coordinated with Mystic Valley. We are looking at bringing a Mystic Valley person in once a week or maybe every other week to help people with mass health recertifications, so they could work here, hopefully like 1 morning a week, so that people could come in to work on that, which would help out Jason and Beth as well, because that could be something that they could say, yep, let's have you come in and see the Mystic Valley trained person on mass health.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a very big one. Okay, thank you. We don't vote on this report, I don't believe, or do we? I'm feeling really dumb about this right now, because usually we do them together, but do we vote on this report?
I think usually it's acceptance of the director's report or acknowledgement of it. I guess they're 2 different.
I
Yeah,
think we vote on the financial, and
we
then the
vote on the
others is just
financial,
one
right,
fund.
right, yeah. Okay, thank you. I'm having a brain cramp, obviously.
That's okay. And I just want to jump in and say what a great job you did, Karen, on the fair. The fair was really, feel like it was very well attended, and there was so many groups there. I enjoyed
Yeah.
walking around talking to everybody, so it was nice.
Thank you. And thank you all. I'm sorry, I should have started with that. And I have an email that I haven't sent out to everybody with thank you letters attached, but thank you all for coming and supporting it. It was nice to see so many of you there, and it was, we loved it. So we're looking forward to having it again, but thank you all for your support. We really felt it, and we really very much appreciated it.
Well, we're part of the team, we're not like outsiders. We're part of the team, so any support we can lend, I think I speak for all of us when I say, what we can do, we will do if you ask us or tell us that there's an opportunity to, so. And Christina had to go to work all day, so she was the only one of us that didn't make an appearance, but it was very good. It was excellent. So, okay, Bob Vincent cannot be here, but he did send in a couple things. Just reminded everyone of town meeting on the 18th, and also that on November 11th, which is Veterans Day, it's a Saturday at 11 a.m. There's a ceremony at the Galvin that he wanted to flag for us as well, if you're able to attend that. And he also talked about the bike plan, and I think Aaron mentioned this, right, that they were going to take it up next week. The bike plan is going before the town council next week. And the master plan seems to be in some kind of suspended hold right now, not hold, but suspended state.
Mhm.
Because there may be something going on there that we don't know about, but he just said it was not moving forward right at the moment, but that didn't mean work wasn't being done, so. And he was sorry he couldn't be here. Anything else that you recall? He sent an email to Karen and myself. Okay,
Sorry, yeah, no, nothing else. He stopped by the veterans. We hosted a veteran breakfast on Tuesday morning.
Oh,
He was
nice,
able to come
okay.
to that. And I think that was everything. He was very sorry he couldn't come, but he's being pulled in a lot of directions.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, the next thing is just a standard thing, volunteer board members. I did, last month, we talked about if you had any thoughts or ideas, to forward them for the, orientation for us, for volunteers, for the, COA board. And nothing in addition to what's already been suggested was put out there, but the window hasn't totally shut. So if you do want to add anything, notify Christina or me. Christina's pulling together the sort of a table of contents index. And hopefully it would be great if we could have, I'd love to see this put together by the, the first part of the new year, and we could be the test group, the alpha group that looks at it and say, oh, would this have been good to have 6 months ago? So, but we are working on that. And any comments or questions about that? Okay. everybody good?
I have a quick comment I'll just put down
Sure.
in an attempt to simplify all of that, because we're talking about that kind of appendix of 10 or so documents that said these things would be useful. If there were like a introductory bridge commentary about what kind of things would be useful for what, a guide to the 10 documents you might get but don't read. How do you make it friendly, so it can
Yeah.
be somewhat
Well,
useful?
well, some would be mandatory reading. Would that be okay to say mandatory? Not mandatory, but yeah,
That would be a helpful thing to know about it. Some is mandatory and again, why is it mandatory? Because
right.
we, operate as a town committee or something.
Sherry?
As somebody who's been through this already, there are certain things that are essential, like the town handbook, and everyone really should read that. And of course, we all do the conflict of interest online, but the rest of it really is reference material. Once you've gone through, I refer to the town handbook all the time. I have to, but I did read it initially. So you have to familiarize with yourself with it at least once, maybe once a year. But most of this is really reference material for you, so you can go and check and make sure that we're doing things in the correct way. And then there's some things that we should just add in there, like if there's procedures for certain kinds of happenings, events that we are involved with, we really need to have a record so the next person who takes it over, like for instance, the next person who's chair, doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. Susan would prepare, these are the basics of how one operates as chair. This is the basics of how one operates as secretary treasurer or whatever. And I know Karen and her crew take so much of the burden off of us. Not the case with a lot of other town commissions. I know because I'm the chair of the HRC. But we should have some kind of like archival record of how things are done, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel and we're not sitting here going, what is that about again? For instance, the idea of the director's report. The director's report is presented, we acknowledge it. It doesn't have to be approved. It's
Right.
not an official document. It's a statement of what has been going on. So that, and I think, reference materials would be like basic Robert's rules. If you can't remember we can put something on there. I have a cheat sheet I've shared with Susan, and a lot of other stuff. But think of it as, but I still think we need a real orientation for newbies. to talk about what the purpose of the COA is and what our role is in relationship with the senior center and their staff.
And I think for me, when I came on, I was interested in what you're talking about, Sherry, to an extent, but my interest was greater, truthfully, in finding out more about what the senior center did and how it worked. And I had been a Shine counselor there for a couple of years, so I came in and did the Shine work, but that's a volunteer position from Mystic Valley, so I wasn't all that familiar with the rest of it. So so there's two things. There's the sort of the how do we operate and what's important and what does the town expect and what does the law require and what are the roles of the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, treasurer, secretary, as well as the director, Karen. But also for me, what is the purpose of the senior center or the Council on Aging, and what about the population of seniors? Joanne referenced the increasing, the growth of seniors, what are the issues, things like that. So all of the above are reference documents, and we have a lot of that in our age-friendly plan, et cetera. So there is a lot, but you're right, Jim. It's not all, there's no test other than the conflict of interest test that you have to pass.
But I
But-
think Sherry gave some good examples of what I was thinking of, how to point out what might be reference material consulted as needed and what is essential material
Yeah,
to
yeah.
know how to function as a committee.
And I'm really, and I'm going to be quiet in a minute, but I'm really enjoying having our guests that come in from other town functions. And I'm hoping that if I wanted to, Maureen, I'd love to have you come and talk to us, not come, but talk to us about the housing situation. And from your perspective, at some point, that would be interesting, I think, because it ties, anyway, I'm digressing, but okay. So hopefully you'll do that if you're extended an invitation, which I'm gonna do, extend one. Any other town bodies that anyone might be interested in hearing from? Well, Sherry, you could tell us about the HRC too, but just to kind of integrate all this together, like we're all, anyway. All
I
right,
think probably
open,
the health department would be good to have come in, so I could talk to Catherine, Jason, and Anthony and see what topic might be a good one for the health department to come in and present to
absolutely,
us
that's
with
great.
the
Yeah.
the top areas that we're focusing on, which is part of the grant Catherine helped me with.
I've
Thank
been having meetings lately with folks in the Health and Human Resources Department, Catherine Dinger, and today with Amy Shirvalati. They haven't concentrated on issues relevant to this particular group, but they touch on so many different aspects of life in this town.
So that-
One of the things that might be an interesting topic, when people talk about domestic abuse and violence, they think this is something that happens only in younger families, that there is no such thing as abuse in terms of the senior population, whether it's from children to their elders or spouses or whatever. And that might be an interesting thing to spend some time on.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that because I read recently that a really high percentage of elder abuse that occurs is happening within families.
Mhm.
So a lot of that might be children who are caregivers. And that makes it particularly hard to address, I think, because it is a family member. So, yes, elder abuse is a big topic.
And, once you open the discussion of it, people might feel more comfortable if they're unfortunately victimized of going and actually realizing they can get help. And we have, several organizations in town, Respond, Wave, as well as the health department that deal with this issue.
Mystic Valley Elder Services.
And Mystic Valley Elder
can
Services, right?
report they have elder abuse.
Yeah.
people. Yeah, that's a lot of good ideas here.
Is that, does this organization do any kind of public informational, programming? I mean, we do it all the time with HRC, but I'm wondering if somehow or another this could become something that maybe in coordination with those other organizations we offer to the entire community to raise the issue's profile so people realize it's something we are concerned about. It's a human rights issues, it's an a consumer, a council on aging issue. It crosses over.
It's a human services issue.
Yes.
It might be a co-sponsor event type
Mhm.
of thing, I think, what it sounds like.
Yeah. Just something to think about. It's an important topic. And
And
another important topic is, and I know I'm thinking about this now, I don't have any children. I have grown stepchildren who live far, far away, and I'm not really their mother. But if I become incapacitated, who then speaks for me? Who takes care of me? How do you choose a responsible executor to handle your affairs? I know a lot of people don't like to let go, but I'm already thinking about about that now, because I will have to set that up way in advance. For
isn't there
my
a
husband and
program
myself.
coming up? Karen, isn't there a program, a 4-part program coming very shortly?
We have one, the visiting nurses are coming. I have to get the name of it. If you could see my desk right now, you know why it's
Yeah.
taking me a minute.
Sherry, I think it's a great, you're right. It's a high of mind, top of mind topic for a lot of people.
And we are going to bring back, we had a lawyer come in last year for estate planning, but we were talking about having somebody come in to also do power of attorney and do that type of a lecture here at the senior center, which would most likely be a daytime programming, depending on the attorney, or potentially we could offer an evening one. It just depends on who we can find.
Yeah.
But that is on my list of topics we are hoping to bring in the next few months.
Yeah, because not everybody has family who can end up speaking for them.
Absolutely. Or they don't want their family to speak for them.
Yeah, back to the elder
Yeah.
abuse topic.
But on
know-
November 15th, we're hosting Preparing for Life Transitions, and it's going to discuss starting the conversation, goals of care assessment, classification of goals of care, and preparing for life transitions. And it's being hosted by the Visiting Nursing Community Care Organization. So that's free, and we're buying pizza for everybody who comes.
Is that the Visiting Nursing Community Care that was previously of Medford in Arlington, that organization? BNCC?
They're all over the place, aren't they? I mean, they cover.
It's actually been privatized quite a bit recently. So Visiting Nurses is a big group, but there are different branches of it.
Mhm.
I'm talking with my meat on. This one is out of Arlington. Marianne Barry is the community liaison, and I know a lot of the senior centers are all having the same presentation.
At what time will it be offered?
That is at noon on Wednesday, November 15th. And we asked people to RSVP by the 13th just for the food count.
Okay.
They're bringing dessert. We're buying pizza. Because we thought you always draw people in when you buy food or have food there. And it's such an important topic. We thought, well, let's make it as easy as we can to get a lot of people in to hear this topic.
What
We're
is
not
the
serving
title
healthy
of
food,
it
of course,
again?
but- What is it? I'm sorry.
The title of that program again?
Preparing for Life Transitions. And then the subtitle is A Life Well Lived is a Life Well Planned.
Great. A couple of things at the senior fair, we ran out of, the file of life. I think most of us now know what that is. You were there. It's a thing that goes on your refrigerator that first responders are trained to look for. I'm just thinking about, planning that, and I know, Karen, you were going to get more for that. But there's also another document that I have worked with that maybe we could get a supply at the senior center, something called 5 Wishes, which is which talks about, it's 5 wishes, your wishes, in terms of there's a number of scenarios, medical scenarios presented to you. And you respond as the healthy, intact person right now, and indicate what you would want done, so that those even, that have your medical proxy, or those that even, are going to be in the orbit talking about what are we going to do here, have some guidance. And it's a really great document. I've worked with seniors for a long time. We used to give it to all our clients, and recommend that they, fill
I
it out.
just had the challenge with that document. I think it's a great way to get the conversation started. And having worked in hospice, we would actually use
Okay.
Thanksgiving as a time that we would say it's time to talk turkey, because you have the family around the table. So just open up the discussion about like, hey, this is what I want, and I just recently had surgery, and I said, hey, this is what I want. You're getting the dog, you're, like you go through the list, and you do what you got to do just in case something goes awry. So I agree. I think it's a good way to open it up, but it doesn't translate well to the legal part. I'd say the other thing, Karen, I don't know if you've ever worked with Honoring Choices. And that is an actual, it's a huge organization in Massachusetts. And they have, I think they have the 5 wishes on there for free as well, but they will come out and do the same kind of talks as well. They're a great group as well. So there's a lot of it's an
Sounds
important
great.
topic,
I think
so.
that would be a great offering. And glad to hear that it's happening, or at least a related part is happening next week.
And Susan, unfortunately, I have a 7:30 meeting for work.
Yeah,
so-
no, okay, so
But
I know.
I sent out the contact list.
I saw that, yep, we just got it. So
So
now we know how to
I-
call each other and
Yes,
email each other. And
When's our next meeting, Susan?
Well, our next meeting is the second Wednesday in
In
December.
December? We are gonna meet in December, right?
Yeah,
I'm just
let's meet in
double checking.
December 13th.
Yeah, let's meet in December. The open
December
meeting,
13th?
yeah, the open meeting global table. If you haven't read the handbook, please go and read the handbook. I did watch the Sherry's tape, and I'm gonna send out the minute, the section of that tape that gives us the relevant information, because it's a long tape. So I will tell you when to watch, if you want to watch it, and we can discuss it next month, the open meeting.
your summary email was great in preparation for this meeting, so thank you.
Well, thanks, yeah, it's helpful. We got things coming at us. Maureen,
I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn. I was trying to let you finish. Sorry.
I could tell. All right, any second?
I second.
Jim seconds? Okay, any discussion, just in favor? Thank you all. That's
Good
just-
night.
Thank
Happy